Hola, welcome to Leccion 5. This topic is En el consultorio del pediatra, and we'll cover pages 83 all the way through 88 in the PDF of your grammar, Spanish grammar in the lesson content. Let's get started with our objectives. We're going to learn how to conjugate stem-changing verbs. This is the first time that we look at stem-changing verbs. There's going to be 3 types. This is the only one that we're doing in Lección 5. We'll revisit the topic in future lecciones. We'll talk about some uses of the definite article and also form of the present progressive. So those are some of our grammar objectives. Lastly, in Lección 5, we'll describe issues related to children's health, because again, we're talking about en el consultorio del pediatra, in the office of the pediatrician. All right, first, let's talk about verbs. In Spanish, some verbs, they undergo a stem change in the present, and when we're talking about this, we're saying in addition to the changes that we're used to, right? So we're used to seeing a verb like preferir, look at the Spanish, an IR ending verb having an O-E-S, E, imos, right? That's I-M-O-S, is and N ending. That's not new, but what is new is the stem that's happening right in the middle. So particularly interesting for a verb like preferir is that there's 2 E's. So when we say the E turns to IE, it's the second E. Whenever you have 2 vowels in the stem, it'll be the second one in the stem. So from the left, the second, not the first E, but the second E in preferir. The second thing you need to know is where is the stem change going to occur. You can just say everywhere except nosotros and except vosotros. And you know we don't use vosotros a lot. It's particular to Spain. So mostly you really want to remember, do not stem change in nosotros. So you'll see that second E remained. It did not turn to an IE. Okay? And that's a little note down at the bottom about what I just said. So let's see how they sound and try to say it after me. Prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, preferís, prefieren. Again, practice hearing them, saying them, writing them down, noting that IE change is good to write it down and highlight it, and you'll get lots of practice throughout the chapters. Here are some verbs that also undergo a change, just like we discussed. So let's see if I can highlight over here. So do you see this right here? That first E in cerrar is the one we're looking at. This E in comenzar. This E empezar. This second E in entender. Pensar has the one E. Perder, another, and querer. So those are going to be our changes. And we have the meanings. Let's go ahead and say each one. So repeat after me. Cerrar. Comenzar. Empezar. Entender. Pensar. Perder. Querer. So for example, what would each verb sound like in the yo form? Well, this E is going to turn to IE. So we'll say cierro, comienzo, empiezo, entiendo, pienso, pierde, quiere. Please note that we have a mix of AR ending verbs and ER ending verbs. So always in the midst of stem changing, don't forget about endings. Let's do a little practice. So just take as much time as you need. Which verb would correctly complete the sentence? For number 1, we're using the verb empezar, and for number 2, the verb preferir. So if you need more time, pause, because I'm going to show you the answers. So let's read the sentence. La cena empieza a las 7 de la noche. Empieza because cena is singular. Nosotros Preferimos el almuerzo en el restaurante. Yes, preferimos, no stem change happening. The verb preferir. Bien. Let's talk now about some uses of the definite article. So remember, articles come with nouns like el, la, los, or las, but we don't always know when we should be using it, we don't always know when we should use it and when we should omit it. So let's go through each point. The definite article is used in the following instances in Spanish. With expressions of time, for example, son las tres. We use the las. If it's 1 o'clock, es la una. Seasons. So, mi estación favorita es el verano. My favorite season is summer, but I would say el verano, not just verano. And days of the week. Now, you don't always use it with days of the week because, and we'll go to point number 2. The definite article is omitted with seasons and days of the week when used after the verb ser. So if I say hoy es lunes, or today is Friday, hoy es viernes, after the verb ser, I would not use it. If I say es invierno, it's winter. So after ser, just like that, es invierno, es verano, es primavera, don't use it. Days of the week, don't use the article when you're using it after ser. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Mañana es martes. Again, not using the article. We do use it with nouns in a general sense, like lions are ferocious. Los leones son feroces. With abstract nouns, so again, just kind of using it with nouns when we're speaking in a general sense. Before próximo, expressions of time. La próxima semana. El próximo día. With nouns like iglesia, escuela, and cárcel when they are preceded by a preposition. A preposition would be like a. Okay, that's the most common one. A, to. Voy a la iglesia. Voy a la escuela. Voy al cárcel. Or a la cárcel, sorry, it's feminine. Before words, desayuno, almuerzo, cena. Para la cena, como pollo. For dinner, I eat chicken. Para el almuerzo, como un sándwich. So honestly, I feel like we can summarize a lot of this in before nouns used in a general sense. All that's below. Let's see. See if you can figure out if you need it in the context or not. And if you do need it, which article? Like, is it el, la, los, or las? Those are definite articles. Those are your choices. Hoy es miércoles. Do you need an article? Preferimos ir a la iglesia before domingos. Do you need an article? And vamos a comer. Do you need an article before desayuno? Pause if you need more time because I'm going to go over the answers now. So you definitely do not need it after number 1 because we said with days of the week and seasons, that's a day though. Do not use it after said. So no, we don't need it. Why are we using the day here? Because we're using it with a day and it's not preceding. Like literally said is not right in front of it. And then we did say we use it with words like desayuno, almuerzo, very often with nouns. And specifically we mentioned the meals. El desayuno, el almuerzo, la cena. So yes. Let's talk present progressive. The present progressive is a verb tense that describes an action that is in process in the moment we are talking. So just again, it's present tense, but it's happening. So it's the present progressive because it's in progress. And this is not used for future. Like in English, sometimes you can say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Well, what are you doing? That in English can be what are you doing now or what are you doing tomorrow, present or future. In Spanish, the present progressive has to be at the moment we are talking. Like literally emphasis on the word present. El presente progresivo. And the way you form it is by first, really important, it is formed with the verb estar. Okay, let's see if we can highlight that. You want to take the verb estar in Spanish, and then you use what we call a present participle. Okay, you have to make the present participle. You start with the verb infinitive. Hablar, comer, escribir, for example. You start with the infinitive. Remove the ending, like the AR is gone, the ER is gone, the IR is gone, right? And then there's only two possibilities. For an AR verb, you add in ando, A-N-D-O. For ER and IR, you add yendo, like yendo. So you have hablando, comiendo, escribiendo. You can make all kinds of participles, like let's say bailar, bailando, estudiar, estudiando, beber, bebiendo. Some of the participles are irregular. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 have a reason. It has to do with stem changing, but honestly, just learn them as irregular. It'll make your life a little bit easier, I think. So we have here for pedir, pidiendo. Él está pidiendo. Someone is asking. Él está diciendo. Someone is saying. Él está durmiendo. I'm just giving you an example with él está. You could do estar with anybody. Yo estoy, tú estás. Servir, él está sirviendo. He's serving. Y él está leyendo. So instead of an I-E-N-D-O, there's a Y. Same with traer, to bring. That is the verb to bring. Instead of an I, it's a Y. So that's trayendo, just like that was leyendo. So again, these are participles, the present progressive, and you'll definitely get a good amount of practice when you do your mind tap activities. Let's see if you can find the equivalent. Again, we're using the present progressive tense. So what would you do for number 1 and for number 2? Pause and take as much time as you need because I'm going to show you the answers. Muy bien. So ellos is the idea, could be ellas, but the verb has to be están, and then the participle comiendo el desayuno. And then since we're saying I, the conjugation of estar is estoy, and then leyendo la revista. ¿Sí? Perfecto. We have some common childhood illnesses, and then from here, we'll just do a little bit of practice. So let's go over some of these illnesses. And just repeat after me. La alergia. La infección de la garganta is a little bit easier than saying la amigdalitis. La amigdalitis. If you're wondering where that comes from, amygdalas are your tonsils. Las ampollas. Ampollas, because a double L makes a Y sound. Ampollas. El cólico. El croup o el garrotillo. El garrotillo. El eczema. Los escalofríos. La fiebre del heno. Heno for hay. La gripe for flu. La insolación. La urticaria. I'm sorry, that's not urticaria because you don't split the I and the A. Urticaria. La varicela. La leucemia. Yeah, urticaria is correct. Sorry, I don't know why I was seeing an accent or no accent. Urticaria, varicela, leucemia, la pulmonía, or la neumonía. Neumonía. So lastly, let's do a little practice. Indicate if it's cierto o falso. Hay vacunas para la varicela y la gripe. Y la amigdalitis, la urticaria y el cólico son enfermedades de la piel. So pause, please take time, go back to this chart, look over it. But what do you say? I'm going to make sure to show you the answer, so take your time. Okay, here we go. Cierto, hay vacunas para la varicela y la gripe. You can get a flu shot, and a chickenpox has a vaccine. Amigdalitis, urticaria y el cólico son enfermedades de la piel. Falso. Falso. This just the first one is in your tonsils. So absolutely not. Colic and urticaria, let's go back to that one. Hives. That would be the only one. Otherwise, no. All right. So we conjugated some stem changing verbs, Talked about a little bit of articles, the present progressive